Producers are continuing to realise that pasture cropping is an effective tool for managing the property whilst contributing to a healthier environment. One of the major benefits of pasture cropping is that it is able to assist in repairing soil structure and developing biologically healthier soils. Pasture cropping increases soil health by increased organic matter and litter, increased soil biology, improved soil organic carbon, improved water retention and availability. To achieve the benefits of improved soil health, proponents of pasture cropping advocate the concept of 100% ground cover 100% of the time. Grazing management is a major part of this equation. In the past, we have tended to overgraze our paddocks, leaving them open to the heat of our summers. Drying, cracked soils can result. Soil biology cannot exist. Sonia Lee visited our trials this year to discuss the value of pasture cropping to soil health. Sonia is a sustainable agriculture consultant from New South Wales.
Their roots, which feed the microbes, and each plant will exude particular substances that will attract the particular microbial community that they need, and the majority of soil microbes are actually located in what's called the rhizosphere, which is the zone immediately surrounding plant roots. Those organisms in that rhizosphere are so important to plants that they actually give approximately 20% of the energy that they create from photosynthesis is channeled towards food for the microbes, so that the root exudates. So in return, the soil biota provide plants with, for example, decomposition of organic matter, which is what Graham's talking about at the soil litter surface, and which transforms the organic nutrients into plant available forms.
Graham Hand from Holistic Management has worked extensively with Colin Syce on pasture cropping, particularly on grazing management of native pastures. Graham explains the importance of ground cover and how to manage animals to achieve grassland regeneration and performance.
The really interesting one that we impact on, and the key to knowing, you don't need to know any about those others, but you do need to know what do we impact on, is what I call the micro water cycle or the in-crop water cycle, where if you get canopy closure of the grasses, of the crop, whatever it is, if that's plant material, you can actually cycle the water in under the canopy. Now, if you also add to that composting litter at the soil surface, you create a really high carbon dioxide concentration under that canopy. If you do that, the plants become incredibly efficient in using water. So if we go through, quickly go through, when's a grass plant, if I can do a blue grass plant with blue roots, fibrous roots, when it's ready to be grazed, it'll have litter in there. So those ones that do that plant physiology, I'm saying that it's gone past, like the 3-leaf ryegrass grazing, has you heard of that one? I'm calling this 5-leaf ryegrass grazing, or for the people that have been trained by GFP, I'm calling it phase 4 grazing. Yeah, so, you know, like, I think that whenever people fail, it's because they've stopped producing litter. So the plant must have litter in it. The animal comes along and thumps it. Because our domestic grazers and a lot of the large herbivores are severe grazers. Sheep are more severe and can get down lower, but you know, horses, this works for all grazing animals. We can regenerate. So then that litter becomes the ground cover between the plants.
Dr. Christine Jones is an internationally renowned ground cover and soil ecologist. At a recent pasture cropping field day, she spoke about the role of perennial grasses in the Australian landscape.
What perennial plants do when that top bit wets up, during the day, plants take moisture from the soil and transpire it up through their leaves because they need that water for photosynthesis. But what they do in a seasonally dry environment where they're well adjusted to that, is that at night time they close the stomata on the leaves and actually take this water and take it right down to here. And they take it out of the soil and they put it out of the soil again in a reservoir. right at the bottom of their root zone. So it's a long way from the surface, can't evaporate, nothing can get it there, and can sit there for months. And they can transport quite a lot of water to there. They haven't actually got it in their roots or anything, they just pump it out into the soil. And then when it becomes very dry, it's very interesting what they do. Again, at night, they take this water back up, and it comes out of their roots everywhere, basically, all around the rhizosphere. All around the roots gets really wet. You can go under your plant up on a 40-degree day in February, a perennial grass plant, you can actually find that the soil is moist all around the roots, even if it hasn't grown for months. Rain is not the only way that you can get water into your soil. Where you've got country that hasn't had perennials in it for a long time and people have restored the perennial grasses and they're just doing it in like 10 hectare paddocks or 20 hectare paddocks on a small scale to start to put perennials back into the landscape. And what you'll see first thing in the morning, height of summer, 40-degree day, or whatever, you get up and look out in the morning and just exactly where the fence line is, where the perennials are, there'll be a fog sitting, like there'll even be a square fog sitting over a square paddock of perennial grasses, and there's no fog over the bare ground. So that those plants are actually attracting moisture from the atmosphere, and studies have shown that that can be quite significant, the amount of water that can come into the plants through fog. They can absorb it through their leaves, and again when they absorb it through their leaves they'll take it down and they'll put it out into the soil to feed that biology. And the amounts of moisture that can be taken from the atmosphere at night through fog are quite incredible, and we think that we don't get fog in January, February, March. We don't get fog. Why don't you have fog? Because you don't have the C4 active ground cover that will actually nucleate that water that's in the atmosphere. We talk about having a landscape that's got integrity, that's got biodiversity, and we probably don't realise the full implications of what all those different components of the landscape are doing, and they're so changed that we're really starting now from a point where most of those systems are no longer operating and have to try and figure out how we get those things back. And one of the really important things that we can do right at this point is do no harm. We stop doing a lot of the things that were damaging plants and damaging soils and start to nurture those systems, those symbiotic relationships by the sorts of products that we use will be those that will be kind to mycorrhizal fungi, that will support that microbial bridge, that will support symbiotic relationships between plants and life in the soil, will actually support that liquid carbon pathway. And we're looking after the plants and looking after the things in the soil and trying to get those functions to come back again, to be restored.
Benefits of increased soil health are healthy plants, increased yields, nutrient cycling, enhancement of availability of phosphorus, better nutrient retention, nitrogen fixation, decrease in pest and disease incidence, decrease in weeds, less erosion.